The Silent Promise. The rain fell in soft, rhythmic drizzles, painting the quiet countryside in shades of gray and green. Amara stood under the shelter of the old oak tree, watching the small creek wend its way through the valley. The place was peaceful, just as she remembered it. It had been 5 years since she'd last been here, 5 years since she had stood under this very tree with him. Noah. The memories came back in a rush, bittersweet and vivid. This place had been theirs, a hidden escape tucked away from the world. She could still hear the echo of their laughter as they'd sit by the creek, talking about dreams and life. He was the quiet type, someone who spoke more with his eyes than his words, but his love had always been clear in the gentle way he held her, in the unspoken promise that lingered between them. But life had a way of pulling people apart. Noah had a family farm to take care of, and Amara had left for the city to chase her dream of becoming a journalist. They had parted ways with the understanding that they'd meet again when the time was right. Yet, as the months turned into years, the distance between them grew, not just in miles, but in silence. There had been letters at first, brief calls, but eventually, life had swept them in different directions. Now, standing here again after all this time, Amara wondered if she had made the right choice. The city had given her the career she had dreamed of, but it had also left her feeling hollow, like she had lost something precious along the way. This small town, this valley, this was where she had felt whole. And Noah had been a part of that. A soft breeze rustled the leaves above her, and suddenly she heard footsteps approaching. Her heart raced. She hadn't told anyone she was coming back, but somehow she had hoped he would know. Maybe he had always known. Turning around slowly, Amara's breath caught in her throat. There, standing at the edge of the path, was Noah. He looked the same, yet different. His dark hair was a little longer, his face a little more rugged, but his eyes, those same deep, thoughtful eyes, held the same quiet intensity she remembered. He wore a simple flannel shirt, and his hands were tucked into his pockets as if unsure what to do with them. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain had slowed to a soft drizzle, the sound of the creek the only noise breaking the silence between them. Amara's heart pounded in her chest. She had imagined this reunion so many times, but now that it was happening, she didn't know where to begin. "Noah," she finally whispered, her voice trembling. His gaze softened, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Amara," he said, his voice low and steady, as if her name was something he had been holding on to for all these years. She took a hesitant step toward him. "I wasn't sure if you'd still be here." "I wasn't sure if you'd come back," he replied, his eyes searching hers. Amara swallowed, her emotions swirling inside her. "I didn't know if I would, but something kept pulling me here. I needed to see this place again, and I needed to see you." Noah took a step closer, closing the distance between them. His presence was calming, grounding, just as it had always been. "It's been a long time," he said softly, his voice thick with unspoken feelings. "Too long," Amara whispered, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "I thought about you, Noah, all the time, but I didn't know how to come back after so much time had passed. I didn't know if you'd want to see me." He exhaled slowly, his brow furrowing with something that looked like pain. "I never stopped wanting to see you, Amara. I just didn't want to hold you back. I knew you had dreams, and I didn't want to be the reason you didn't chase them." Her heart ached at his words. He had always been like this, putting her dreams above his own, even if it meant sacrificing what they had. "But what about your dreams, Noah?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked away for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. "I thought I could be happy here, on the farm, living the life I've always known. But the truth is, none of it felt right without you. This place, the farm, the valley, it was always better when you were here. You were my dream, Amara. You still are." A tear slipped down her cheek, and she quickly wiped it away, her heart swelling with a mixture of love and regret. "I've missed you, Noah. More than I can even explain. The city gave me what I thought I wanted, but it never felt like home. Not like this. Not like you." He stepped forward, close enough now that she could feel the warmth radiating from him despite the cool rain. His hand lifted slowly, hesitating for a moment before gently cupping her cheek, his thumb brushing away the last of her tears. The simple touch sent a wave of emotions crashing through her, and she closed her eyes, leaning into his hand. "I never stopped loving you," Noah whispered, his voice filled with a raw honesty that broke through the years of silence between them. "I was just too afraid to ask you to stay. But if you're here now, maybe we can try again. Maybe we can find our way back." Amara opened her eyes, her heart racing as she looked up at him. His face was inches from hers, his eyes filled with hope and vulnerability. She had spent years wondering if they had lost their chance, but now, standing here with him, she realized that the love between them had never faded. It had only been waiting, quietly, patiently, for this moment. "I'm not going anywhere this time," she whispered, her voice steady and sure. "If you'll have me, I'm ready to stay." Noah's smile was small but filled with so much emotion that it took her breath away. He leaned in slowly, his forehead resting against hers. "I've been waiting for you," he whispered. And then, without another word, he closed the distance between them, his lips brushing against hers in a kiss that felt both familiar and new. It was a kiss that held years of longing, of missed opportunities, of love that had never truly died. As the rain fell softly around them, Amara and Noah stood under the shelter of the old oak tree, wrapped in each other's arms, knowing that this time they wouldn't let go.